So the League One relegation battle, Crawley Town, Burton Albion, Shrewsbury Town and Cambridge United are the obvious four that look bang in trouble this season. But there could be a bit of bother for other sides above them, namely Northampton Town and Bristol Rovers. So we're going to be talking to some fans this evening of clubs that could be in relegation trouble this evening to decide who is going to go down from League One. Plenty to get stuck into then in this League One podcast. Yes, welcome along to this League One podcast. Get subscribed to us, please, on YouTube and on Spotify. For now, I'm delighted to be joined by my first guest, which is Ollie from the Gastcast podcast on Bristol Rovers. Ollie, I suppose my first question would be, do you see Bristol Rovers has been very inconsistent this season? Do you see yourselves as a kind of a mid-table side that has its off days, or do you see yourselves as a potential relegation candidate?
Yeah, good question. I think probably until the last 4 or 5 games, I would say that I viewed ourselves as the former in terms of being a mid-table side that has the odd off day. I'll be honest, I'm becoming increasingly concerned about us as the season goes on. The performances in the last 4 or 5 games they stink of a side that's going to be dragged into a relegation fight, to be honest, to me, unless something changes. I think the trajectory for us is quite bad at the moment. The performances are getting worse and worse. Last 5 games, the attacking threat from us is at an all-time low in terms of shots on target. We're barely registering a shot on target in each game that we have. Defensively, the one thing that probably gives me a bit of a glimmer of hope is defensively, other than the last game where we lost 3-0 at Orient, we're not too bad in terms of we're not conceding a lot of goals, but we're doing a hell of a lot of defending in every game. And the goals at the other end have just dried up in a big way. So, yeah, obviously January could change things. We don't know what business is going to happen in that window. I think we need some business. But, yeah, I'm becoming increasingly concerned about us, I would say.
I sort of wonder, if the film, I think it's in The Dark Knight, where there was someone's face where half it looked fine and half it was kind of sort of slightly slightly odd. And yeah. I'm kind of wondering whether Bristol Rovers' starting 11 is a little bit similar to that, where you've got 5 or 6 players where you'd go tick, like, Josh Griffiths in goal. Fullbacks look pretty good to me. Connor Taylor, Grant Ward has been very reliable over the years. I like Shaq Ford, for instance. And then there's another half of the team where you go, I'm not sure about them. And I guess January is going to be quite important in terms of maybe fixing that other sort of half of the other part of the 11.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the problem is we had such a big overhaul in the summer just gone. We signed 16 players in that window. And a lot of the players we brought in are younger players on 2-3 year deals. So I would like to think that there's the scope for us to bring in even 2 or 3 players for the starting 11. I think we could badly do with. As to whether or not that will happen, I'm a little bit doubtful. I think it obviously depends probably where we sit in the table when we get to that window, because we've got a tough run coming up for the rest of December until we hit the transfer window. So if we go on a poor run of results now and we're sitting in or just above the bottom 4, I think we probably will go out and make a few signings, because I think it'll force the hand of the owners into doing that in a way. But yeah, I think if we get to the end of January and we haven't added 2 or 3 players to go into the starting 11 to bring up the overall quality of the side, I will be very concerned about us, I think, come the end of January. There's some definite holes in the side that need just the quality needs to go up. And it's strange. Like, I like a lot of our attacking players individually, like Shaq Ford, you've mentioned, Hutchinson. I was really pleased with picking him up from Walsall.
Yeah.
Omocheri, spent a big fee on him. He's only scored 2 goals in 12, 13 odd games. He's got fitness issues. So Thierry really hasn't hit the ground running at all, is struggling, I think. So Luke Thomas has kind of been frozen out. Sounds like he may be off in January. So I think although I like them individually, it's just not clicking as an attacking unit, or we haven't found the right formula, maybe the right combinations. So I'd quite like to see us bring in a new striker, I think, in January, just to help out the strikers that we've got and just try and get some
missing
goals.
an out number. I mean, I suppose you could say Promise Omochere was brought in to be that, and maybe with time he can deliver on his promise. But at the moment, you're looking at it and thinking you're missing a number 9 where you'd go, yeah, I'm really happy with them.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Promise in a way, because I think, as far as I'm aware, at Fleetwood, he was more of a kind of wide player rather than an out and out through the middle number 9, which is how we're playing him. You know, when he plays for us, he is the lead man at the top of the pitch, sort of lone striker, trying to hold the ball up, bring everyone else into play. And I'm just not sure. I mean, it might turn into his game. I'm not sure at the moment that is his game. I think he's kind of learning that. We spent reportedly about 700k on him, which is a hell of a fee. It's obviously not his fault, but that naturally comes with fans expecting a lot from him. You know, fans don't expect you to spend 700 odd K on a striker as Bristol Rovers and him to have scored 2 goals in the first 12
and also,
games.
Ollie, like, what do you do if you're the manager and you go to I mean, I know Wael Al-Qadi's looking to sell the club at the moment and there's somebody new coming in, but you go to the owner and say, we need another striker, and you're paying presumably already pretty big wages for Chris Martin. He's a former championship regular. He's going to come at a premium, and you've paid that kind of fee for Promise Omochere. You'd sort of be thinking, if you're in the owner's point of position, hang on, why aren't you getting the best out of, you know, the players that we've invested in?
Yeah, I would agree. I think the hope I've got is that Gatlin O'Donkor comes back into the side after his injury and gives us something different, because he's shown real flashes and he scored a couple of goals. He looks like he is going to give us some pace, some power. He can hold the ball up. He's a good finisher from what I've seen so far. So I'm really hopeful that maybe he's the one. Maybe it doesn't have to be someone from outside. Maybe the answer is already in the building and we've just not seen enough of him so far. Yeah, I'm really hopeful that he can come in and add something, because Chris Martin, I mean, we're kind of, with Omochere's injury, kind of been flogging Chris Martin up top for the last few weeks. And honestly, he's had a great career. He's a superb finisher. Give him the ball in the box. He is a brilliant finisher. But honestly, he does not add anything to the side unless he's getting chances, which he's not getting because the side aren't creating chances for him. Unless he's getting chances, he is adding nothing to the side. You can't press with him. You can't hit balls into the channel and expect him to run onto them. You know, the ball has to be played directly into him for him to hold the ball up. It's just, you know, he is what he is. He's a 36-year-old journeyman striker who did very well for us last season, but he is not the answer, I don't think.
Just listening to you talk about some good forwards individually, but it maybe not clicking as a collective, the thought that's occurred to me is I don't really see a playmaker in this Bristol Rovers side. I mean, I think Kamil Conte's out injured at the moment, but either from a deeper position where you've got Grant Ward and Jamie Lindsay in midfield, and neither of them you'd really say are particularly creative. And then in the number 10 position, it's like Rule Satiri is more of a second striker rather than a creative 10, if you like. And then you've got Shaq Ford there and Sinclair, who, you know, maybe the less said about the better at this stage of his career, at least. So it just kind of maybe that's part of the reason why it's not quite clicking. You've not got, you know, you've got some decent pieces there, but you've not got the glue that's going to bring it all together.
Yeah, probably to contradict myself slightly, although I have said how I think the attack is the issue, I think we are, like you said, sorely lacking someone, because we play a 4-2-3-1 basically, and the two midfielders in front of our back four, we are sorely lacking a midfielder in that position who can receive the ball on the half turn, pick it up off the back four, turn and get it into the feet of our attacking players. You know, the midfielders that we do have, like Conte, Lindsay, Grant Ward to an extent, he's a little bit more progressive, but the central midfielders, deep line we do have are very much kind of get the ball, pass it 5 yards to the nearest man. None of them are going to get the ball and beat someone and get you up the pitch by carrying it. They're not going to play a sort of creative, progressive pass through the lines into one of the attacking midfielders or the striker. So I think that is an issue. I think Hutchinson was probably brought in to be the number 10 behind the striker, but he started the season very poorly in that position. And since then, Matt Taylor seems to have got a tune out of him by playing him off the left-hand side. And to be fair, since he moved him out there, we've seen a lot better form from Hutchinson than we did when he was central. But I think what we've essentially done is moved the bloke who was meant to probably be getting us ticking in the middle out wide. And there's actually no one who can play the position that he was brought in to play. So, yeah, I think that's an issue for sure.
So, but I'm thinking, remind me when on Conte's timescale, is he out for the season or is he going to be back soon? Or
no, Conte's he's fit and he's been playing. He didn't start the last game. I think he might have picked up a little niggle in the last game against Orient, so he didn't start that game. But in general, he has been starting games. But I really like Conte. He's been a very good pickup. But again, he's one of those players who he gets the ball, turns and gives it to someone who's better on the ball than him nearby.
Oh, really? That's interesting because his reviews at lower levels were that he could be that press-resistant, progressive midfielder. So I'm actually surprised that you've not really seen that side of his game at Bristol Rovers. Maybe it's
I'd say in the last few weeks he started carrying the ball a little bit more, but in general, over his time here, he's very much just been a very kind of steady Eddie. Get the ball, give it. He is very press resistant. He's good at shielding the ball, keeping the ball. It's rare that he loses possession in sort of dangerous areas by getting robbed of it, but he's not someone who's going to play a creative pass into Hutchinson or Shaq or O'Donkor and get us going up the pitch. He's very much a kind of keep it safe, keep it tidy, keep the ball kind of player.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm wondering, if you've got Conte and Ward in midfield, possibly Hutchinson back in the 10 role if he can find some form there. You got Shaq Ford out on the right and then Gatlin O'Donkor back fitting, coming in up top, or Promise on a Cherry if he can find some form, or possibly even play him on the left. I do feel like there is enough personnel there for you to actually start to find a little bit more consistency. It's just about kind of putting pieces together, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think on paper there's the potential there, but there's only so long you can go on thinking that and not seeing any results from it. I mean, like in the last 5 games, we've had 5 shots on target. So I almost don't blame the strikers in a way, because when they're not getting the chances to miss, everyone always says, I'd rather us be creating chances and missing them, because then all you need is the strikers to put their shooting boots on and become a bit more clinical, or bring someone in who can finish the chances you're creating. And suddenly there's a huge upturn in results potentially. But when you're just not even able to get into shooting positions and create anything, although I have slagged off Chris Martin, I don't blame him for not being very involved in games, because he's not getting the service. None of our attacking players are getting the service. It's just a whole team issue rather than an attack issue, in terms of we're not playing in a way that is giving us a chance to even create opportunities for the front players. So I think that there's a lot that needs to be worked on, I think.
In terms of Joel Senior's season so far, Ollie, he was obviously Player of the Year last season in League Two with Morecambe, won promotion from League Two the year before with Carlisle. Possibly a bit of a question mark about him in League One, but I'm thinking I'd probably rather have him at right back than somebody like Taylor Moore, who I do like as a defender, just because he's that kind of player that can fly forward and maybe create a bit more of a space for somebody like a Shaq Ford to drift infield, and the game might open up a bit more.
Yeah, I would agree. I was really excited about us signing Joel Senior, and I think the idea of having Shaq on the right, who's left-footed and wants to drift inside, and someone like Senior overlapping him, it feels like there could be a really nice combination and partnership there. But unfortunately, Senior's been injured for the majority of the start of the season. He's just about come back into fitness now and had a couple of cameo appearances in the last couple of games. So I think once he gets up to speed and gets a bit of rhythm, I think he could really help, because Taylor Moore has been filling in there, and I'm trying to think of a polite way to say this. Taylor Moore is is a very hard-working player. He's a trier. He gives 100%. He never shies away.
But he's not an attacking right back, is he?
Technically, on the ball, he is just so lacking in what you'd want from the modern day fullback in terms of giving you some kind of outlet on the right-hand side of the pitch. He is just miles away from that, basically. So I think the sooner Joel Senior gets, as I said, a bit of momentum and rhythm, and hopefully can stay fit for a prolonged period of time and can get that spot nailed down in our starting 11, the better, I think.
Absolutely. I do want to bring in Sam Jordan from Crawley Town in a moment, but just one final question for me, Ollie. On Matt Taylor, he's obviously had coming up to 12 months in charge now. I think we can probably both agree that Matt Taylor is the sort of person you want representing your football club, because my experience of Matt Taylor is that he's extremely honest. And I think on balance, I think that's a quality that can be lacking sometimes in the game. And I think to have somebody like that to bring that style of leadership is a really valuable thing. At the same time, you'd also have to look at his record over the last 12 months, whether you want to be a little bit unkind to include the second half of last season, which was a bit of a write-off in terms of promotion or relegation. But is there how are fans feeling about Matt Taylor and whether he's the right person to take the club forward?
I would say it's difficult, isn't it? Because social media and the forums, etc., is a very small percentage of the overall fan base in reality. But the vibe from social media, the forums, is that the majority of the fans would like to see Matt Taylor replaced at this stage. I think he's lost a large percentage of gas heads, to be honest, with his record over the time he's been here. And like you said, it's probably a little bit unfair to include the second half of last season, but it's difficult not to include it at this stage when he's got his own squad now. He obviously brought in a load of new players. The argument was always give him his own players, then we'll judge him. But we're judging him now, and the performances are terrible, and the results we're just about scraping enough decent results against other poor sides to keep our heads just above the sort of bottom four area. It's one of the worst teams in possession that I can ever remember watching, this Rovers side, in terms of just our inability to keep the ball. As I said, create any chances. So I think fans are just completely fed up, really, to be honest. Matt Taylor has been away from the club for the last couple of weeks because of a family issue going on. So I think everyone has so much sympathy and empathy with what he's going through. No one obviously wants that to be happening. But I think it's definitely shielded him from... I think if he was the manager and this family situation hadn't happened, after that 3-0 loss at Orient 10 days or so ago, I think everyone pretty much is in agreement that if Matt Taylor was the manager that day, he would have been sacked the next day. It was that kind of performance where you just know it was an end of era type performance. He is back now. We've got as I said, a really tough run. We've got Birmingham away on Saturday. Then we're at home to Wrexham. I will be surprised if Matt Taylor is still the manager come the start of the transfer window, personally.
Right. Okay. Well, best luck. Best wishes to Matt Taylor with the family that he's got, and we send our hearts out to him. At the same time, there does have to be a sort of clinical review of the performances of where Bristol Rovers are at, and I think it's fair to say that that more's required, and hopefully that can be rectified one way or another. Ollie, thanks so much for talking to us, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Cheers, Gab. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Delighted to be joined now by Sam Jordan of Crawley Town. Sam, thanks for waiting this evening. Really appreciate your time. That 2-1 victory at Charlton, does that have the potential to be hopefully a real boost for Crawley Town in your bid to beat the drop?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, back-to-back wins now. Beating Rotherham at home and then going to Charlton winning 2-1. Little old Crawley, upsetting a big boy. It's fantastic, isn't it? So, hopefully. It's a shame the game against Stevenage was called off on Saturday due to the weather, but because we could have obviously had 3 wins in a row and a bit of momentum. But, hopefully that kind of those back-to-back wins kickstarts our season, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of praise on the CTFC fans forum for Anderson in midfield, along with Kelly. Have they been to a couple of the star performers of late?
Yeah, so Anderson kind of came in and was pretty much kind of under the radar, kind of played okay, but the last few games definitely come into his own and been a much stronger player for us, and done well to take the finish for the winner against Charlton. Jez Kelly typically played out wide last season, started the season out wide, and the last few games has played in the middle, and is absolutely unbelievable in the middle. I mean, the way he
Right.
just carries the ball, beats players, finds the pass. Yeah, I think if I'm honest, with you, we'll do well to keep hold of him in January. Yeah, we plucked him from nowhere in
You
America, and
wouldn't
he
have,
came.
it's funny, you wouldn't have talked about him as a key player for Crawley last season, would you? So it's funny how he's come into that kind of role this year.
Yeah, I mean, when we signed him in January, everyone was like, "Oh, who's this guy coming over from America?" And obviously, we've got American owners, and they're kind of like, "Oh, they're just signing their mates." But he kind of came in and done very well, really settled in very well. I think he's got a family in Sussex. I think that helped. And then was a big player in our promotion push. And then this season has played in every game, either out wide or in the middle. But yeah, he's fantastic. He's so calm on the ball, happy to beat a player, find a pass. Yeah, he's a big player for us this season.
Certainly is. Talk to me about Joey McKenna as well, Sam, because he's a joy to watch this season.
Yeah, I mean, this guy before last season was playing in National League South. He didn't actually play that
Right.
much last season. Kind of came in and filled in for injuries and suspensions. But this season, with Dion Conroy out and the likes of Will Wright and Lawrence Maguire moving on,
Yeah.
kind of got frustrated to the starting 11. And he has got the odd mistake in him, but for a guy who's playing National League South 2 years ago, he's matured and he's settled into the team really well. And fair play to him, he's taken his chance, and he's really good on the ball. He plays in the middle of the three, he's a talker. Yeah, he doesn't look out of place at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And the right centre half that you've got as well, whose name escaped me, who's the one who started at Charlton.
So, oh, Tanamu.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
Tannibal. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that was his first start at Charlton. Obviously,
Right.
thrown into the deep end. He was quite nervous in the first 20 minutes, but then grew into the game. Yes, we've got to see a bit more from him. But we've got the person who's playing on the right hand side for most seasons, Toby Malarkey. First season in League One and has come from Grimsby. And he was ever present actually before the Charlton game. Unfortunately, he got a booking and served, sorry, his fifth booking and served suspension. So, yeah, I mean, our strongest three defenders are actually currently out at the moment in terms of Josh Flint, Dion Conroy. Um, and then obviously Malarkey didn't play Tuesday. So, yeah, we did really well to go to Charlton and get a win with our second choice back three, if you like.
Right, apologies for the wait. Sam, are you still there?
Hello, yes. Can you hear me?
Ah, brilliant. I've had to pay for temporary Wi-Fi. Thanks for those of you who have waited. I hope we make this Crawley Town chat worth the wait for you. How are you feeling about the job that Rob Elliott's done? Because he's obviously not easy to play good football at a massive budgetary disadvantage with players like Joe McKenna, who you mentioned have made this massive step up. It's very impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, tough ask, really, isn't it? Coming in, taking over from Scott, who done a fantastic job, and no pre-season, no transfer window. Yeah, so a really tough ask for him, really. But he's come in at Gateshead, he plays a similar style of football to what we play, so that's kind of helped him. But he's come in, he's tweaked it slightly. But as you say, I mean, our budget compared to everyone else, I mean, our budget's probably bottom half of League Two, let alone bottom half of League One. But we've got a few wins. And I think January will be massive for us because obviously he'll want to strengthen bringing his own players in. I'm sure there'll be one or two out as well. So if we can kind of get to January and just be in and around 19th, 20th, and sign a few players, you never know. Might stay out.
Yeah, let's hope that's going to be the case. So what would be your prediction then, Sam, if I had to push you for a call, if whether Crawley Town beat the drop or not?
Oh, it's so hard, isn't it? I mean, this league, when you look at down the bottom, I mean, obviously, like Northampton beating Peterborough, you think, oh, blimey. Because although Peterborough and Rotherham are down there,
Yeah.
but they're massive clubs, and they're not going to be down there all season. So you kind of look at who are first four worst teams. You've got, obviously, Gareth Ainsworth's gone into Shrewsbury. So you think, well, they do all right. Burton, they haven't appointed a new gaffer yet, but who are they going to appoint? And then, obviously, Cambridge. We obviously spoke about Bristol Rovers earlier. Do I think we'll stay up? I think the next, who knows? I think we can. It's just going to be so tough, isn't it, with the teams around us? So, yeah, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I'll finish fifth bottom.
Well, let's hope that's the case. Sam, thanks so much for joining us and really appreciate your time and speak to you again later in the season.
Cheers, Gab.
Now by Freddie Owers of Cambridge United. Good evening, Freddie. How are you?
Hi, Gab. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure. That 4-1 victory over Shrewsbury Town, has that given you fresh hope for the season ahead?
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where you just needed your players to step up. It was a game where we couldn't afford to lose. And yeah, we didn't. And hopefully it can set us in good stead for a difficult run of fixtures coming up.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. The Unlunderloo and the Unlavery partnership, I suppose you'd call it, of Dan Unlunderloo and Shane Lavery. There's a sign there in that victory over Shrewsbury that they can start to do a bit of damage.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I'm really excited to see happen now that they're both seemingly fit and ready to play together. Kind of reminding me of a 2020, 2021 Ironside and Paul Mullin, where you have one striker who's a bit stocky, better at holding up the ball, and one player, Shane Lavery. I might get pelters for this, but he does remind me of a Paul Mullin from that season in the sense that he's tenacious in the box and he will sort of do anything given a chance to put the ball in the back of the net. Similar type build as a player as well. So yeah, hopefully similar results.
Yeah, let's hope that's going to be the case. Jordan Cousins as well. People saying it's the best they've seen. I don't know if you can still, yes, best they've seen from him for quite some time. Build on for Jordan Cousins?
Yeah, possibly. Sort of a player that's never really got himself going since being at the club. But obviously, you'd hope that given a good period of training and of continued fitness, that he can be a real asset to the squad. I don't see how he can't be. He doesn't hold the squad back. I think when he plays, I think he's a player that, if used correctly, can be very, very effective. So, yeah, we just got to hope that he steps into a really good run of form and can be really useful in that midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering, in terms of Kelland Watts, do you think he can provide some solidity in that back three with Zeno Ibsen Rossi and Michael Morrison? Is that a formula to move forward with?
So I'm personally a big fan of Jabril Akadina. I think that he needs to have his say in the team, and I've been a big fan of his for a while since he joined the club. Obviously, I'd never be opposed to us having depth options if Kel Watts wants to really test the other starters for a spot on his team. Then obviously that can only be a good thing. It's healthy competition within the squad, which is a good thing. And I think any manager would tell you the same thing. So yeah, I'm happy to see him play, and hopefully. Yeah, also put together a good run of games when he gets the chance to, and if he does compete with the other three centre backs, then yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the areas you think Cambridge United are going to recruit in January then, Freddie?
Oh, well, it's really difficult with the squad that we have and the volume and of injuries that we've had and players coming and going on and off the physio bench. It's really hard to call what situation we'll look in 2-3 weeks' time, but look, I'd hope just a couple more options across the board to strengthen up for when fixtures keep coming thick and large, and so we can afford to maybe have a player or two get injured. We might see some players going back to their parent clubs from being on loan. So I wouldn't say there's one specific area where we need to improve in. I think general depth and stability is what we're going to need if we're going to survive a tough run of games and hopefully build some sort of momentum to keep us up.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can do that. Freddie, it's been great to chat to you, and all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you, Gab. Take care.
Cheers. Delighted to be joined now by Jack from Shrews Analysis. Jack, I guess, did that 4-1 defeat at Cambridge show how much work Gareth Ainsworth has ahead of him, both on the training field and in the transfer window?
Oh, mate, thanks for having me as always. Yeah, massively, huge problems at the club with the squad at the minute that we've got, and he's been given, I think calling it a poison chalice might be, or probably wouldn't be an overstatement, as with the performance that they showed last Saturday. Major surgery required, which I'll be very surprised if that could be rectified in January. Even if we get a couple in, it's not going to solve every problem that we've got. So yeah, we had the great bounce when he first came in and the win over Birmingham, but the loss on Saturday was certainly a really, really tough one to take for everyone connected with the club.
Yeah, I do wonder actually if that 3-2 victory over Birmingham was kind of I don't know, a bit like a cup game, if you like, where Ainsworth just had that fresh, injection of positivity in the club, and for a one-off game, he really turned up and raised it. Raised your game to the big challenge, but actually in the last 2 games we've seen a regression to the mean, and probably a bit more of a realistic indication of where Shrewsbury Town are at.
Yeah, I think there's probably an element of that, that, as you say, that kind of that cup time mentality for the nature of the Birmingham game. I think Gareth Ainsworth made an interesting point after the Cambridge match where he said that the Birmingham fixture, with the way that Birmingham they play in front of you quite a bit, and that actually helped, whereas it's against, certainly Cambridge last week and against Blackpool to a degree, but certainly Cambridge, the way they play is a bit more, I'd say, use the term direct. I don't mean that as a criticism, but they do get it in your box a bit more than Birmingham do, in the nature of our defending this year and how shambolic it's been. It's tested us, more so than that Birmingham game actually did, despite the position that Birmingham are in the league. So I think that's something that will be, is a massive concern for everyone, clearly. And if we don't improve it, we're going to go down. And as things stand at the moment, we're looking very, very likely to go down anyway. But yeah, it would just be if they can somehow get to January in, within a couple of wins of safety, and then hopefully plug those gaps that are there. But I think it's a massive ask for Ainsworth to do anything of any note with the squad that he's been given, or the squad that he's chosen to join, should I say.
So, Jack, you've said 2 or 3 players you're looking at in January. I know that, though, 2 or 3 signings isn't going to solve every problem for Shrewsbury Town. But if you had to really prioritise 3 positions where it's like, we really desperately need somebody here, what would be those 3 areas that you would go for?
Centre back, without a shadow of a doubt. one if not two, really. I think someone, or at least one, or if not two players to secure that. That's been our massive Achilles heel so far this season. I think potentially centre midfield as well. It's just that spine. The team doesn't have a spine. It doesn't seem to have much character about it. And if they go behind, then there doesn't appear to be much chance of coming back. The goal.
George Lloyd has character about him, I think, Jack.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, but I guess when you're, with respect to George Lloyd, he's not going to be the person getting his head on the ball for crosses in the box. And, the goals we conceded last week were so shambolic. The goalkeeper didn't, cover himself in glory, but those, especially the goals in the second half, were just abysmal. Anyone that's ever played, anyone that ever knows anything about defending can see how horrific those goals were to concede. So we just need someone again to, I think Ainsworth alluded to it, we might be a bit too nice, just to maybe give a bit of a rocket, deliver some harsh words, and just sharpen people up, because it looks like that they're severely lacking in that, as I say, that spine and that character throughout the team, and it's just devoid of leadership at the moment. So I think we need someone to, I know it's a massive if clearly, but someone to try and come in to right those wrongs if possible for the second half of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was kind of just looking at what Anthony Stewart's up to, because he was signed by Ebbsfleet in 30th of September. I don't know the length of that contract, whether that was to the end of the season. I mean, I feel like with Gareth Ainsworth, I don't think he'd be too bothered that, Anthony Stewart's gone to the National League. I think he's the kind of... Ainsworth values kind of people, and he feels like, I don't know, I feel like for me, Anthony Stewart would be somebody that I would look to bring in January to try and just bring that bit of leadership qualities, because I think Stewart's somebody Gareth Ainsworth can trust. But somebody like that, I think it could do with, a right-hand man that Ainsworth's worked with before, who can be a bit of a general on the field. That seems like what Shrewsbury Town are missing at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying that we should go out and sign Anthony Stewart, but a defender, Aaron Pierre he's got his, I say faults, he's got his strengths, and that is his strength and his physicality, but he maybe struggles a bit on the floor. He was suspended last Saturday. Toto Nsiala's had a pretty horrific season form-wise, in terms of how he's been performing.
He's not up to League One standard, is he, Anthony? Aristotle and Nsiala, I don't think. Well, certainly in recent.
It looks like he's not anymore. Morgan Feeney's not played much because of injury recently. Josh Feeney's done okay when he's been in the team, but again, he's young and inexperienced. But someone just to shore it up. And I understand why he wasn't in the team, but from what I'm going to say now, I think when we had Shea Dunkley last season, we had many faults as a team last season, but I certainly think those third and fourth goals on Saturday wouldn't go in if he was there, because he's got that bit of leadership and that aerial ability to actually go and win, if not the first ball, the second ball, and just provide that bit of structure there. So you can. Everyone wants a centre half that could 6'4" and can win everything in the air and is quick. We're not going to get that clearly, but someone who's just got a bit of both about them, rather than just being a physical defender but struggles on the ground, or vice versa. We desperately need someone to come in and to either step up or to take up that position for sure.
That's the crazy thing for me, Jack, because I think if we're looking at attacking players, I don't think Shrewsbury are much worse than they've been in the last, 5 years since the Paul Hurst season, because I think Leo Castledean's quite talented. I think Tommy O'Reilly's very talented. I think if you can get him on the ball, that's going to be huge. I'm a big fan of George Lloyd. I think he's got something about him. I think Ainsworth is going to like his attitude as well. But crucial, Shrewsbury Town, if I'm being honest, I think they've been turgid to watch going back to John Askey era. But there's always been a sort of solidity there where, even like the season under Sam Ricketts, for instance, you did keep a lot of clean sheets, I think, in the 1920 season before things completely sort of tailed off. And then under Steve Cottrell, not great to watch, kept lots of clean sheets, and you always seem to have this kind of defensive trio that you could kind of rely on. I don't really see that for Shrewsbury Town at the moment, and that's a big problem for me. And I think if you can get back to those solid foundations, then you'll give yourselves half a chance. But it's whether there's going to be enough teams sort of floating around above the bottom four that can give yourself somebody to pull in as well.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Gab. Like you said, we've never been a free-flowing, high-scoring team, but we've always not been bad at keeping it shut at the other end. But yeah, this season the defending, I've never seen a team be so inept at keeping the ball out of the back of their net for one reason or another. You know, we've kept one clean sheet all season so far. I did have a look the other day, and I think the lowest ever record for a whole season is 2, which a few teams have done. And I wouldn't be surprised if we genuinely, had that at the end of the season, because every single game we give up opportunities to opposing teams, which gives them chances to put the ball in the back of the net. And when you aren't a free flowing, high scoring team as we ever have been, if you're always needing at least 2 goals to win a game, well, the chances are that you're not going to get many points out of that, and that has to be the first step. Is trying to secure that defence up. It's easier said than done. But as I say, I've been watching the club for over 15 years now. I can't remember a worse team defensively than this one, at least. And yeah, it's not the only problem, but it's certainly a massive, massive problem, because it puts you on the back foot straight away. As soon as you do concede, as I said, you're going to have to score at least 2 to get a win.
Yeah, I would be quite happy. I would put a small amount of money on Gareth Ainsworth's first signing being an experienced centre-back with a little bit of League One pedigree. I think he'll be desperate to get that player in, because I think he'll feel like that'll be the starting point. How big a factor here, Jack, do you think Toby Savin's form is in this? Because he had a bit of a, not that he was by any means the only culprit at Cambridge last time out, didn't do himself any favours either.
Yeah, and I think, generally I'd say his form across the season hasn't been too bad, to be honest, from where I've been sitting anyway. I wouldn't say, he's not the reason we are where we are. Could he maybe have done better with a couple of goals? Yes, potentially, but I can't remember him having any massive howlers. So I'd say that maybe the Wrexham game, the 3rd goal away at Wrexham, he didn't cover himself in glory there. But I'd say on the whole, he's not been the biggest problem. But yeah, last Saturday was terrible, and I guess it all comes back to money, to budget. We in the summer, Paul Hurst was trying to find people which were maybe under the radar a little bit, and were maybe for one reason or another not catching the eye of other teams, and you hope you can unearth a couple of gems. And obviously that was the hope with Savin, and I'm not writing him off. I think he's got the makings of a decent keeper, and his distribution's generally okay and whatnot. But yeah, last Saturday was very, very poor in particular. And again, it comes back, you need your goalkeeper and your defence to be solid if you're going to get out of the position that we're in. And when you've got your goalkeeper making a mistake and putting you 1-0 down before a minute's even gone, again, what chance have you got, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Going to the other sort of side of the pitch, Tommy O'Reilly is a big talent. I know he's nicknamed Little Foden at Aston Villa. Obviously, I imagine it's been harder for him to stand out quite to the full extent that he might be capable of it, given the circumstances at Shrewsbury and how difficult that can be for diminutive attacking midfielders. But one thing that I would take some optimism from is that Gareth Ainsworth has worked with Ebere Eze, who's now starring in the Premier League with Crystal Palace. When he was at Wycombe Wanderers, gave him his first sort of senior experience. And I think he rubs off on players who have that bit of individual skill and kind of rubs off on them, not so much from a technical point of view, but definitely from a mentality point of view, in terms of work against the ball and tracking back and all that kind of thing. Did it with Anis Mehmeti as well, who's now a Championship regular with Bristol City. So that's the one thing that does give me some encouragement, that if you can retain Tommy O'Reilly for the second half of the season, can Ainsworth rub off on him and also can you find a way of just somehow getting him on the ball at in key areas? If you can do that, then again, you give yourselves half a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Players with the technical ability of Tommy O'Reilly don't come along too often at Shrewsbury Town. There's clearly been some misalignment somewhere as to why he's not. I think I'm right in saying that Saturday was his first league start since the end of August. That might be wrong, but I think that's the case. So when you've got
not fancy him, do you think?
What was that? Sorry,
Hurst did not fancy him. Then do you think?
As I said, there was clearly some misalignment regarding O'Reilly's work rate or desire or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
That was alluded to by Hurst near to the end of his reign, and kind of in training as much as anything else. And I think that's something that, there's only one person that can solve that, first of all. I think if Tommy O'Reilly doesn't have a career higher than Shrewsbury Town, something's gone massively wrong, because everybody can see the talent that he's got technically. and there's no disputing that. He's, arguably one of the most talented players we've seen down at the club for the past few years technically, but until maybe psychologically that level is matched at least to his technical ability, there's going to be some let's say that misalignment there between his actual output when you think of what he could achieve. So yeah, if he can improve that, and if Ainsworth can help him improve that, everybody can see what talent he's got and what he can offer us. But I do wonder if, certainly from what we've seen so far, if the style that Gareth Ainsworth is looking to implement with us complements Tommy O'Reilly, and certainly I know he came on late against Blackpool, I don't know, last 15 minutes or so, something like that. And I don't think he touched the ball once of any significance, really. He was all trying to win second balls and win knockdowns, and that isn't his game. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Aston Villa recalled him in January, to be honest. At the start of the season, I thought he'd be getting recalled because of how well he'd done and because he'd have lit it up and gone on to a bigger club. Whereas now I think he's likely to be recalled because he's not been playing. He doesn't fit the style that we're going to try and adopt. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he continues on with us and can showcase the ability that he has got. But yeah, if there's a happy ending to the story of Tommy O'Reilly at Shrewsbury Town, I'd be surprised, being honest, as I sit here now today.
We'll see. Hopefully Gareth Ainsworth can make an impression on him, because I think one component is individual accountability, like the player has to motivate themselves and be prepared to put in, to be committed, because that's on them. At the same time, I think if you've got a manager who can really inspire you to go that extra mile, that makes a difference as well. And so what I'll be hoping is that having a manager like Gareth Ainsworth and the way that he can motivate people, something he's done throughout his career, both as a player and certainly as a manager, I'd hope that he can sort of rub off on O'Reilly and actually inspire him to do more and to be more committed and to sort of add that side to his game. And if he can do that and convince Aston Villa to sort of keep him at in Shropshire, then fingers crossed that can give you a chance.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, it's clearly going to be a tough rest of the season for Shrewsbury Town, Jack, and I guess a lot's going to be dictated by the transfer window. So I look forward to catching up with you later in the campaign when hopefully we know a bit more about the ins and outs.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Gabby. Of course, look forward to chatting at some point again in the future.
Yeah, legend. Cheers, Jack. Thanks to Jack. Thanks to everyone who's come on as guests this evening. Thanks to you for watching at home. This has been the EFL Debate League One podcast. Just to recap in terms of the relegation battle, there's some teams that we weren't able to discuss this evening. I personally will be pretty confident that the likes of Rotherham, Wigan and Charlton will have enough about them to pull clear. I also think Leyton Orient performed pretty close to a top half side for much of the season so far, and I think the right tweaks in January are going to see them climb the table fairly rapidly. So I don't really consider Orient a relegation candidate, even though the table has suggested otherwise for parts of this season. I'm pretty worried about Northampton, and I see them and Bristol Rovers as the likeliest ones from outside the current bottom four to really drop in there. Obviously, as we've just been talking about to Jack, some big concerns about Shrewsbury Town. Burton Albion have given themselves a lot to do. I think Crawley have actually shown in their away performances that there's something bright and vibrant about them, and I'm surprised how well they've been able to execute their playing style, even with a squad that's some would have considered non-league, not far off, not much better than non-league standard. If you look at how quickly some of the players have, accelerated their careers, I really wasn't sure about them this season. So I have to give testament to the job that Rob Elliott is doing at Broadfields, and I think if they can even give themselves a chance of staying up going into spring, I think Rob Elliott's done an excellent job, and I look forward to seeing what he can build there over the long term, hopefully under a different ownership regime as well. But yeah, I think everyone at Crawley, I think, deserves a lot of credit. And they've given themselves a sniff. And I think for me, Cambridge United have given themselves a bit of hope with that 4-1 victory over Shrewsbury, but I'm still feeling a little bit sceptical about whether Cambridge stay up. So if you had to push me now, I think it's tough, because I think I think I probably would go with the current bottom four. But I think Northampton will probably be the likeliest to kind of drop in there after John Brady left. And I think Bristol Rovers have enough quality to just about stay up in about 18th or 19th this season, but probably not do much more than that. So there you have it. That's my opinions on the League One relegation dogfight. Sorry we couldn't speak to more people from more clubs this evening. Hopefully we can have a few more clubs represented next time around. But I hope you've enjoyed it nonetheless, because I know I have. Thanks for watching. Get subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify, and we'll see you again very soon.